This week, we come to the final crisis and testing point in the lunar cycle that began with that new moon in All About Relationships Libra that was on October the 8th. This week's final pruning requires a bit of myth-busting. If we look at the archetypal cosmic lovers, Venus and Mars, they have some examples to share with us. That is, after all, the macrocosm stage for the microcosm that we appear to live in. They want to remind us that on the way to discovering the true meaning of love, we're presented with experiences of what love is not. It's sort of like kissing a bunch of frogs, right? So, myth number one that Venus and Mars would teach us this week is that they do not sleep in twin beds. In the misunderstood microcosm of archetypes, like the Cleavers or Lucy and Desi and I Love Lucy, we've inherited centuries of confusing puritanical beliefs, all of which seem to deny the natural expression of our sensuality and passion, layering it under guilt. Now, myth number two is that love, that coupling, is not about birds and bees. After all, they never even mate. It's about flowers and bees. That's Mother Nature's example of a mutualistic relationship where both species benefit from being together. This Wednesday's third quarter moon in affectionate and loving Leo can help your myth busting so that you can answer what I think is the really big question, and you do too. What is my purpose in being in this relationship? It's so clarifying if we then just ask, are my thoughts and actions based on fear or love? And once you know your purpose, all decisions about the relationship become as easy as walking down a garden path in springtime. Welcome, I'm Judith Royal, Archetypal Astrology, and I'm here with your astrology weather forecast for October the 29th through the November the 4th, 2018. So have you noticed that relationships lately seem to be star-crossed? Well, I've got good news. The cosmic lovers, that Venus and Mars, are finally getting together again to start November off, November 1st, with some prolific blooms for some single-minded bees. And then the other thing that's really important about this week is that the deep breath of life we've been waiting for comes also on Wednesday, which is Halloween, the 31st. Our brains will be on fire again, and our relationships will be struck by bolts out of the blue. This is sort of the very definition of treats with tricks. Venus has been retrograde in Scorpio water for quite a while, but that's going to change on Halloween when she backs up into Libra, an air sign, and her home sign. But don't get too excited. She is going to be back into Scorpio. But meanwhile, Mars, who is still going direct in Aquarius air, they'll meet in perfect harmony because that's Libra air and Aquarius air. That meeting will be exact on November the 9th, but we're definitely feeling it this week. They're going to remain within 5 degrees of one another in perfect harmony, let's put it that way, until November 15th. And that will be when Mars moves, or rather takes that dive into Pisces Ocean, which he's not too keen about, but that's for another time. Also, November 16th, Venus goes direct in Libra, ends that long retrograde phase, And that will be the same day that Messenger Mercury turns retrograde himself in fiery Sagittarius. So we have got a lot of movement of air and fire, and that's combustion and creativity. That's coming in full force for November 1st. We are in the astrological month of Scorpio, so happy birthday to all you Scorpios out there. And of course, Halloween is Scorpio's holiday. I once wrote a piece called Blame It on a Vampire because Scorpio it has as its muse and ruler Pluto, the archetypal lord of the underworld. And what that really means in the microcosm for us is that we take a trip into our own unconscious, where if we have ghosts and goblins, sort of those undead strokes of vengeance and getting even that get buried down there, now is the time to exercise them, right? Just think about the archetypes we have associated with Halloween. Listen to this one ghost story. The predator waits patiently while its unsuspecting prey wanders closer, unaware that danger lurks just inches away. Swinging swiftly shut, the barbed jaws close around her body. The struggle is brief. Doesn't that sound like a Halloween tale? Actually, it's a scientist's description of the Venus flytrap, a rare carnivorous plant. It grows in soggy coastal bogs. Sounds like the quagmires of Transylvania. But shouldn't we ask ourselves, how did a carnivorous plant get named for Venus? Is it because we believe love hurts or even would kill us? And as we step into the intensity of Scorpio's sleuthing, we're going to see that this week the archetype of the vampire is simply the projection of hidden fears we have of our own passionate desires. That's so Scorpio. This week, let's call it up from our unconscious. Let's call it out of the shadows. This business of, for example, Dracula and his bride. I mean, there isn't a more fear-based relationship in all of literature, right? So we have our collectively dreamed nightmares, like that movie, the archetypal movie, The Little Shop of Horrors. That when it's unconscious, it just seems to grow into big monsters, like children who think that there are ghosts in the closet and under the bed, right? Very unforgiving and undead ghosts, like zombies, right? That don't seem to go away because they're always out for vengeance. Looking for opportunities for forgiveness, let me walk you through the week now, especially listening to the elements and whether they are compatible or not with your own moon sign or your own sun sign. So we've already talked about Scorpio water. That's the sun sign that's sort of overarching all of this week. And on Monday, we start off with the moon in watery Cancer. So the Cancer moon, who's sort of the home sweet homebody, she's going to make this beautiful connection for all of us. It will certainly be about deep emotions because it's a grand trine in water signs. So first on Monday, actually Sunday, the day before, the Cancer moon is going to strike up a beautiful love affair with Venus that carries us into Monday morning, when she'll also add in a lovely harmony with Neptune in Pisces. And she'll go on to trine Jupiter in Scorpio on the 30th. So in other words, we've got a 3-day run there of blessings, all in water signs. So for those of you who are Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces, you have it's just an understatement to say that you have day to day and hour to hour epiphanies. You're just totally clairvoyant. And your sonar is so accurate that I encourage you to share what you see with others. Now, on Tuesday, the 30th, we get an extra wonderful help with, well, our minds being much more optimistic. Please do not believe the news headlines that would scare us to death, right? That's just a little shop of horrors. Because Mercury, before he changes signs, that is, while he's still in Scorpio, he meets up with Jupiter there. Now, both of them are at the final degrees of Scorpio at the beginning of this week. And so if you've heard the term void of course, when a planet makes its last major aspect, that is, it has a job to do and finishes it, then has no more jobs while it's in that sign. That's called void of course, and that is going to be true for Jupiter after Tuesday, because he will then, in next week, will be moving into Sagittarius. But in any case, we have more optimism. You can really see, if you're looking for it, you can see the horizon being lifted with blue skies from our positive thinking. And that's not just, New Age woo-woo. That's really remembering that through our thoughts, we create our reality. We literally see what we believe, because perception is so selective. And that is Mercury's job. When he goes into Sagittarius, well, it's late night on Tuesday, but for the Pacific coast, but let's just count it as starting on Wednesday, Halloween. That is the sign of the truth teller. So we have now the messenger planet, the way we are communicating, in the sign of the truth teller. So believe me, there are going to be surprises. Also because Venus, the goddess of love, is going to be in opposition to the god of lightning. So expect the unexpected in relationships. Nothing is really going to go as you expected, but that is good news, because generally our expectations could use a little facelift, right? We could have a little more optimism. It would help us all. And I've saved the very best news for last. Well, actually, I didn't do that, but at the end of this week, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we have a fabulous treat because the moon moves into Virgo. That's an earth sign. So that's for you, Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. And in Virgo, she is going to trigger another grand trine, this is just where things will easily fall into place because everything is operating in a perfect rhythm and a perfect harmony. And those will be the Virgo moon making harmony with that Pluto-Saturn. So Sheriff Saturn now gets a little bit of a healing job from the Virgo moon, saying that putting our house in order is symbolically having our minds in order, our thoughts in order, and that we see that the whole work that we have to do here on this planet is for healing. And we are never given a challenge or a job that we don't also receive exactly the right gift or talent to work it out effectively. And that comes to us on Saturday with a beautiful help from that Virgo moon talking to, having a really good conversation with that Lord of the underworld. And so here is where whatever secrets have been buried out of guilt come into the light and literally are dissolved. So Sunday ends the week with the moon going into Libra November 4th and bringing us full circle within just this 1 week from the opening with Venus in Libra, etc. Now we have the moon again triggering all of that, giving us an opportunity for more fulfilling relationships. And let me put this in perspective, that Venus and Mars haven't been in compatible signs since a very short 6 days they were together in August 6th to 12th. And August 7th was their last beautiful trine. But now that was in the same signs they're going to be in now, which is Libra and Aquarius. But other than those 6 days, they haven't been in compatible signs since July the 9th. So take advantage of this wonderful shift, bringing something sudden and unexpected into your relationships, because really we are all on the hunt for something more exciting, more stimulating, with a lot more elbow room, freedom, which is what we really truly want in our loving relationships. And so the heavens have set the stage for next week when the big shift occurs with 3 major events. First, the god of lightning backs up into fiery Aries. So Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, you are going to feel finally there's combustion everywhere and your creativity is back in bloom. And on Wednesday, the 7th, there is the new moon in Scorpio. So we begin a new lunar cycle that will be characterized by some very spiritual turns in the way in which we perceive things. And then Jupiter finishes his 1 year in Scorpio on Thursday the 8th and goes into truth-telling Sagittarius, his home sign. And all that year of whistleblowing, we will now, I think, find justice, because Jupiter is about the law. Certainly there will be big events of that. And the truth comes out in Sagittarius, unfiltered. So exciting times ahead. So take that deep breath of life and remember who you truly are. You are here as a messenger of love and light in a world so much in need of both. Thanks for listening. You can always get in touch with me at email judith@judithroyal.com. And I'll see you next week for the big shift. And that's all for now.